Greetings. My name is Dan Sabo. It is October 27th, 2020. We are just 1 week away from the great November general election. I've been discussing politics quite some time, local and state politics, on both Facebook and YouTube, and I pretty much decided a few weeks back I would keep quiet and let all the rancor die down while people decide. Until a recent spate of negative hit piece ads have come out by the folks in the current band of trustees and the Plymouth Township Supervisor, Kurt Heise. The group's been running negative ads and hit pieces. And the last straw for me, they came out with an ad that denigrated the military service of a Democrat female candidate for Plymouth Township Board of Trustees. So I decided to come out again and speak a little bit about local politics and put it into context with local history. So decided to talk a little bit about these two people in back of me. The woman on the left is Mrs. Mary Davis, and she owned and operated a farm in northwest Plymouth Township, what is now Northwest Plymouth Township, in the 1850s. Her husband, Jehiel, passed away early. So for a time, she was running the farm on her own, and she risked life, limb, and property to hide escaped slaves on her farm who were trying to make their way through for freedom, make their way to freedom. And she risked it all to do that. And she did this as a widow. She happened to be the mother-in-law of the gentleman on the right, that is George Anson Starkweather. And George married Mary Davis's adoptive daughter, Lydia Amelia Haywood. Mary also lost her son at age 21, so she had no kids of her own after the loss of her son. So she adopted my great-great-grandmother. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing these two people up is to draw some parallels, or comparisons, I should say, between the current candidates for the Plymouth Township Board of Trustees and the 1850s and 1860s in the Plymouth community. Now, George, although we don't have any evidence that he actually hid slaves on the Starkweather property in Plymouth community. Our family had cousins in the Northville area that were also involved in that activity and were neighbors with Erastus Hussey. That's a big local name. And I'm comparing the two because, well, for example, George Starkweather held some of the very same offices that Kurt Heise did. George Starkweather was a Plymouth State Representative up in Lansing. He served one term, had the very same seat that Kurt Heise occupied as a state representative. He was also Township Supervisor, Plymouth Township Supervisor and Village President. He was a farmer, a greenhouse operator, dry goods store owner and operator, country lawyer, school teacher, and he helped bring the rail lines through Plymouth. A lot of people are still angry about that, but that's another story. And he was a Democrat, but back then Democrat to a lot of people meant different things than what it means today. Even though he was a Democrat, in the time of Lincoln, he switched support, and he supported Abraham Lincoln in the presidential election. And there's a bit of history behind that. There's a banner that he hung, a Lincoln banner that he hung on his home during the first Lincoln election, and you can see it today in the Plymouth Historical Museum. I'm bringing up these two historic figures, the Plymouth community, to compare them to the current Plymouth Township Board of Trustees, and in particular Kurt Heise. And the reason why I'm doing that is that the Plymouth values of the 1850s and 1860s, and I believe the Plymouth values of today by the majority of voters in Plymouth Township, are not at all congruent with Kurt Heise's beliefs and morality. Because let's face it, Kurt Heise helped Governor Rick Snyder strip voting rights away from African Americans in Flint, and aided and abetted in the mass poisoning of that city as a result. Kurt Heise has passed a local ordinance that the Plymouth Township attorney has admitted in public meetings that the ordinance that Kurt Heise rammed through can violate the First Amendment rights of Plymouth Township residents. And let's face it, Kurt Heise is a misogynist. He does not believe in equal pay for equal work, women's rights, and neither does his entire slate that he endorses. So I'm here to tell you that the values of the Plymouth community of over a century ago, and what I believe are still the values of the Plymouth community today, do not match, are not at all congruent with the values of the extremist conservative slate led by Plymouth Township Supervisor Kurt Heise. So what I'm asking voters to do, if you have not decided already as to who you're going to choose for your local government, to give the all-female Democrat ticket a second look before you fill out your ballot. Because I think the Mary Starr team is a far wiser choice for the reputation of the Plymouth community, because the Plymouth community and local businesses and people who decide to move here and invest here need to start to make a decision, and they need to decide, do you want to be associated with a community that is led by a structural racist and a band of misogynists, or do you want to be associated with a community that is progressive and believes in equal pay for equal work and wants to give the all-female ticket of Mary Starr, Crystal Corliss, Marissa Downs, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, Nabela Garib. I think they deserve a chance. And I think, I am not exactly sure, but I believe that if they are elected, this would be the first time in Plymouth Township history that the Plymouth Township Board of Trustees is led by a majority all-female ticket. So let's give the women a chance and reject misogyny. Reject the misogyny of Kurt Heise, and reject the structural racism, and reject the anti-mask and pro-Trump ticket. All down the line, from the very top of the White House down to local communities. Reject it, and we need to send a message to these politicians all across the country that it will not be tolerated in any community. So I think these four women are just going to do a fine job. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Nancy Konzelman. I think there has been a lot of negative campaigning against her. She got a raw deal. And most of the baloney that Jerry Vorva has been talking about is just that it's all baloney. Because what I perceive is that they're angry that she didn't act as Kurt Heise's mommy when he filled out his campaign paperwork 4 years ago. And Vorva was saying that that's criminal. That's bullshit. Kurt Heise is an attorney. He knows how to fill out paperwork. He screwed up, and he was whining about Nancy Konzelman's not helping him. It's not her job to make sure that he gets his paperwork right. He's an attorney. He knows what he's doing. So Kurt Heise is also a whiner. So anyway, give them a chance. Give Starr, Corliss, Downs, Gary, Konzelman, give them a chance. They're all good people. They come from a diverse background, and I, for one, think that too many lawyers on township boards is a bad thing, because attorneys, what they generally do is figure out how to game the system to their own advantage. I think we need less attorneys running local governments, not more. And besides, if they need legal advice, they pay a township attorney already for that. So give them a chance. I think they'll do a great job. And whatever you decide, whoever you vote for, make sure you do one thing: vote, vote, vote.